थोड़ा
Nice.
भगवान के साथ आज गीता पढ़ रही हूँ।
भगवान तो मेरे साथ है।
भगवान तो सबके साथ हैं।
सबके साथ है।
सबके साथ है।
सबके साथ है।
ओके,
हरि ओम।
हरि ओम, हरि ओम।
हरि ओम।
I think we're ready to start. Let's go. ॐ प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहं सगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तिमवैति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति। We'll chant verses 1 to 5 of chapter 2. Verses 1 to 5 of chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. Sanjaya uvacha tam tatha कृपयाविष्टम् अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणम् विषीदन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदन। संजय उवाच तं तथा कृपयाविष्टम् अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणम् विषीदन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदन। श्रीभगवानुवाच कुतस्त्वाकश्मलमिदं विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यजुष्टमस्वर्ग्यम् अकीर्तिकरमर्जुन। श्रीभगवानुवाच कुतस्त्वाकश्मलमिदं विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यजुष्टमस्वर्ग्यम् अकीर्तिकरमर्जुन। ऐभ्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैत्वत्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठं परन्तप। क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच कथं भीष्ममहं सङ्ख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजाहार्वरिसूदन। अर्जुन उवाच कथं भीष्ममहं सङ्ख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजाहार्वरिसूदन। गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्षमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामांस्तु गुरूनिहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रवृद्धान्। गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्ष्यमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामांस्तु गुरूनिहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रदिग्धान्। Okay. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, doctor.
ये जो श्लोक वर्स नंबर 35 है, कमेंट्री में जो लास्ट पैराग्राफ है उसमें वो जो 3 वर्ड्स मेंशन कर रहे हैं तीनों लोगों का, उसको नहीं चाहिए। तो अल्टरनेटली वेकिंग, ड्रीम एंड डीप स्लीप स्टेट ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस के साथ का से तीनों लोगों का वो करा है।
हाँ जी। So what's the question?
द क्वेश्चन इज के ये जो वेकिंग, ड्रीम एंड डीप स्लीप इसके साथ कैसे तीनों लोगों का वो।
नहीं, ये everywhere at many places in the scriptures, even in other scriptures, in fact, they'll talk about the 3 worlds, right? So we see there are a lot of symbolisms behind the 3 worlds, right? And on a very introductory level, we talk about 3 physical realms, right? जब हमें बच्चों की तरह पढ़ाया जाता है कि एक स्वर्ग लोक है, एक भूलोक है, एक नरक लोक है. In fact, when you go a little deeper into the philosophies, you realize there are more than 3 lokas, there are multiple lokas, right? But broadly speaking, 3 worlds means one which you wish to attain, one which you are in, and one which you will descend to if you do not live up to the standards of a human being, right? So Swarga, Bhu, and Naraka. But more philosophically, and there are different places in the scriptures where the worlds also represents the waking, dream, and deep sleep deep sleep state of consciousness. What Arjuna is trying to say is that nothing can make me fight. I don't have a greed for sovereignty and supremacy over any of these realms, right? मतलब दुनिया में आप मुझे कुछ भी दे दो, मुझे नहीं लड़ना, right? So what he's trying to say is सारी सृष्टि में, पूरी सृष्टि में आप कुछ भी दे दो, मुझे नहीं लड़ना। तो सृष्टि किन चीजों से बनी हुई है, सृष्टि में क्या क्या है, what is all of creation, right? So on a more philosophical note, all of creation philosophically is divided into 3 states of consciousness. There are 3 worlds you occupy. Puri Srishti for you and me consists of 3 worlds. Those 3 worlds are the waking state, which you and I occupy right now, in which we are in this waking world, experiencing waking things, this waking universe. यहाँ की एक history, geography है. But beyond this waking world, there are 2 other worlds we also live in at different times. When we go to sleep, we are either entering the dream world, which is a totally distinct and different world. वो एक अलग ही लोक है, वो एक अलग ही realm है. And the deep sleep state, which is dreamless sleep, a state of deep blankness, nothingness, which you and I experience in the depths of our sleep. So these are the three worlds. That's also a world. It's a world of nothingness. The dream is a world of disconnected, partial things, and the waking state seems to be a connected and more logically oriented realm. That's the only difference. But these are distinct states which we occupy at different times. Just a couple of hours ago, you were in the dream state. I think. I hope you had. Actually, I hope you had sound sleep. I hope you were in deep sleep. So that's
Okay.
philosophically all of three is divided into these three states of consciousness. That doesn't mean Arjuna meant it. He's only
Hmm.
giving an interpretation to what three worlds means in different parts of the scripture. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
उत्सव जी
But good. Thank you for asking a question from the text. Very rarely do we have people who have read the text and then are asking questions. It means we are following, we are reading the text. Good. Hanji, Om ji.
लास्ट टाइम वी डिस्कस्ड अबाउट 4 जातों के बारे में बात किया था। ये 4 जातें जो थी हमारे हिंदू रिलीजन में,
Varna.
तो जातें हॉरिजॉन्टल थी, मतलब कि सब एवरीबॉडी हैड ए इक्वल स्टेटस। लेकिन अगर हम अपने शरीर को भी देखें तो शरीर में भी 4 जातें हैं। ये ब्राह्मण है, एक क्षत्रिय है, और पेट जो है हमारा वो वैश्य है, और नीचे का जो हिस्सा है वो शूद्र है। तो कौन सा हिस्सा, ये इट इज़ अ कंपोजिट कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ, तो कोई बड़ा नहीं कोई छोटा नहीं है। अगर कोई एक भी अंग पार्टिसिपेट ना करे तो हम लोग वी आर फिनिश्ड। सो लेकिन बाद में क्या हुआ कि जो क्षत्रिय थे उन्होंने हमेशा राज किया बिकॉज ऑफ द पावर एंड ऑल। दूसरी बात, आपने वर्ण संकट की बात की थी कि अर्जुन ने बोला था कि अगर युद्ध नहीं हुआ तो सब वर्ण संकट हो जाएगा। आज इतना ज़्यादा वर्ण संकट है कि पूछिए मत। जब ब्रिटिश यहाँ आए थे तो उन्होंने अपनी बीवियों को तो लाए नहीं थे, वो यहाँ ही बीवियां बना ली थी उन्होंने अपनी। वो सारे वर्ण संकट ही तो हैं वो सब। फिर मुस्लिम भी जो यहाँ पर आए हैं,
Om ji, I have very nice friends who look totally different, who come from very different backgrounds. ये कहना गलत होगा कि सिर्फ एक एक ब्रिटिशर जब एक इंडियन से शादी करता है तो वर्ण संकट हो जाता है। What we have essentially talked about and we'll talk about also. First of all, जाति नहीं वर्ण, right? वर्ण और जाति में फर्क है। And
ठीक
see, as I said last class,
हो सकता है मेरी
the
समझ
way it
में।
has been, the way this concept has been misinterpreted and misapplied, it's better to do away with it.
ओके
I
ओके
don't want to. I don't. It's like मतलब एक जब एक गलत अंडरस्टैंडिंग बैठ जाती है तो यार सब कुछ भूल जाओ आप, फिर से
ठीक
पढ़ते
है, वो छोड़ दीजिए।
हाँ
लेकिन आज जो इतना आरक्षण की बात हो रही है,
हाँ जी।
इतना कुछ हो रहा है, वो मेरे हिसाब से कोई जायज नहीं है। बिकॉज ए फिट मैन हैज टू बी फिट इन ए फिट प्लेस।
No, absolutely. Point is you have to
आप
use and Varun Sankat, if you look at the concept of Varnas from a certain perspective, absolutely it has a lot of merit, right? But the problem is people don't have that perspective. People देखने लगते हैं कि क्या अच्छा है क्या बुरा है। People want this duality कि ब्राह्मण अच्छा है शूद्र बुरा है, right? But जैसे आपने कहा कि आपके शरीर के अलग अलग हिस्से ही ब्राह्मण और शूद्र हैं।
बिल्कुल
ना आपके सर में दर्द होगी और आपके पैर में दर्द होगी। इट्स लाइक आस्किंग विच डू यू प्रिफर, सर में दर्द या पैर में दर्द। यू वांट एवरीथिंग टू फंक्शन अप्रोप्रिएटली, राइट? सो ऑल वर्नास आर essential for you need a diversity of beings. And second of all, ये जो वर्ण है ये जन्म प्रदान नहीं है। They are not determined by your birth or your surname or your physical appearance at all. None of these things matter. What matters is your mental temperament.
करेक्ट।
ब्राह्मण का बेटा शूद्र हो सकता है, शूद्र का बेटा ब्राह्मण हो सकता है,
Correct.
क्षत्रिय का बेटा वैश्य हो सकता है, वैश्य का बेटा ब्राह्मण हो सकता है. Doesn't matter, right? It is not entirely based on on your physical location, on your family, on your physical appearance, on the color of your skin. None of these things matter, right? And which is why, you know, people don't want to think and consider these subtler aspects. They want to jump to conclusions based on, you know, superficial concepts. So, you know, abhi every day I'm getting many people in my, you know, in my social media posting about the Kumbh, and it's good. It's good we are celebrating this, you know, this culture, this tradition. But you know, matlab ab, I have a mixed reaction in me. People are like, I'm going to take a holy dip and cleanse my sins. अब मैं क्या समझाऊं? अच्छा, मैं कुछ नहीं कहता. अब this is what Dayanand Saraswati said, right? Dayanand Saraswati, the great Vedantini, he said, अरे यार, अगर आपके नहाने से आपके पाप धुल जाएंगे तो मछलियों का सोचो जो
हाँ,
गंगा जी में रहते हैं. उनके तो सारे पाप धुल गए हैं. हाँ. So
बहुत सूफियों ने भी कहा है.
we don't I'm digressing, but the point is we don't want to think deeply about these concepts, right? And which is why we want to have a very superficial understanding. Same with Varna. People don't want to think about, okay, what is the meaning of mental temperament? What is the meaning of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas? But our attempt here is to convey that. And certainly two people from different cultures or two people who appear different simply getting together is not Varna Sankat, right? Varna Sankat is when two people of different temperaments, different orientation, different purposes, different worldviews get together in a relationship, and not only a matrimonial relationship. It could be a business relationship. जब आपके वैल्यूज और आपके बिजनेस पार्टनर की वैल्यूज बहुत अलग होंगे तो क्या होगा? वो बिजनेस चलेगी ही नहीं. पार्टनरशिप में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होगी, राइट? किसी को पैसा ज्यादा चाहिए, किसी को शॉर्ट टर्म रिटर्न्स चाहिए, किसी को लॉन्ग टर्म रिटर्न्स चाहिए, किसी को ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बढ़ानी है, किसी को प्रॉफिट देखना है. वर्ण संकट. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि एक गलत है एक सही है, दोनों का जगह है. We need both kinds of businesses, we need both kinds of people for a society to function. But जब दोनों मिलके it becomes an unholy matrimony, as they say, right? And that's the sankat, because it causes confusion, it causes conflict. And you and I also know how the society solves conflict. We don't solve conflict straight up. हम दबा करके रखते हैं बातें सालों साल तक, और जब तक चीजें फट ना जाएं तो हम चलाते हैं एक पार्टनरशिप. You know, इस संकट में हम चलते रहते हैं जब तक things don't completely blow out of proportion. So we enter relationships in a without thinking. We continue them without thinking until we are completely drained mentally. So that is the Varna Sankat he's alluding to, although he doesn't have this depth of understanding, Arjuna. But certainly it's incorrect to assume that two people simply of two, you know, different cultures getting together is Varna Sankat. Two people from different parts of the world could be a beautiful union if their temperaments match.
I totally agree with you. But हमारे जितने भी सेंट भी हुए हैं, सब के सब ब्राह्मण नहीं थे. Ramakrishna Paramhans also was from a very low caste, but he was an enlightened person. Even भगवान कृष्ण की भी जब हम बात करते हैं, he was from Yadav community, not from a Brahmin community. But he was more than a Brahmin.
भोगरतो वा संगरतो वा संगविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तम नंदति नंदति नंदत्येव. आपके थॉट कहाँ है? आपका थॉट पैसा में है? आपका थॉट सेंसुअल अट्रैक्शंस लस्ट में है? आपका थॉट इमोशनल अटैचमेंट में है क्या, या आपका थॉट भगवान पे है? इट डजंट मैटर दुनिया आपको किस जाति से कहलाती है. वेयर इज योर थॉट? दैट इज व्हाट मैटर्स, एंड दैट्स व्हाट द लाइव्स ऑफ सच सेंट्स आर कंटिन्यूअसली ट्राइंग टू टेल अस. इट डजंट मैटर व्हाट योर सरनेम इज. इफ योर थॉट इज ओरिएंटेड टुवर्ड्स गॉड, यू आर अ ब्राह्मण, राइट? A lot of people जो ब्राह्मण के नाम पे, and Adi Shankaracharya himself has said, Jatilo mundi lunchita kesha kasha yambara bahukrita vesha. आप मुंडन कर लेते हो, आप माला पहन लेते हो, आप ये वस्त्र धारण कर लेते हो, साधु का you assume this appearance of a sadhu, bahukrita vesha, all for the sake of belly, he says. I am not saying it.
No, no,
Adi Shankaracharya is saying it. All for the sake of belly. अपने आप के लिए, मतलब थोड़ा और पैसा कमाने के लिए, थोड़ा और भूख मिटाने के लिए आप you're pretending to be a sadhu. So आप जो वेश the appearance you don does not determine your varna. Your thoughts determine your varna.
कहते हैं ना, जात ना पूछो साधु की, ले लीजिए ज्ञान.
Absolutely. जात न पूछो साधु की, मोल करो तलवार का, पड़े रहने दो म्यान. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, Rashmi ji.
So you had said that in this chapter, Krishna ji will try to impress Arjun. So that point, can you elaborate? Like you said that it's very difficult for a human being to behave like that. Only Krishna ji could do that. And when we are put in such a situation, we will not be able to impress a person. We would be at loggerhead or something. We're saying something like that.
No, what I was saying is, see, generally our tendency whenever someone is facing an emotional conflict or whenever there is a, एक argument होता है, we react emotionally or we react impulsively. We raise our voices, we impulsively say something, we get angry, we get heated up, right? So the first lesson that Lord Krishna has given us is that he remained silent. He understood that this is not merely about conveying knowledge. Also, he's not going to waste his time. He knows Arjuna is not a yogi, a jnani seeking the deepest knowledge. But what he needs is Arjuna to listen to him. That's the bottom line. Because Arjuna is not able to make his own decision, he needs Arjuna to listen to him. So at first he stays silent. The first lesson is you wait for the other person to approach you. You draw the other person. You make yourself available, but don't push your knowledge into them. Yeah, you may want to poke them. This is what Lord Krishna is going to do right now. He's going to poke Arjuna. In the first two verses, second and third verse of chapter 2. He's going to poke Arjuna. So that requires a lot of objectivity. We want to be heard. We want to have the last word. We want to push our knowledge on others. Right? Lord Krishna says, no, stay silent. First of all, let it be asked for. Second of all, their relationship was one of peers. They were friends. They were cousins. It's like you and your cousin brother or cousin sister. You'll have childhood memories. They've seen you, be mischievous, and you have a totally different. It'll be very difficult for them to surrender to you and listen to you. Right? So the first thing Lord Krishna does is he gives out the highest philosophy. Arjuna is like, oh my God, wow. This guy knows more than I thought he knew. Unrelated necessarily to what is being discussed or what Arjuna needs to hear. He didn't have to say all of this in chapter 2. But the first thing he did was to impress upon Arjuna, not because it matters to him what Arjuna thinks of him. What matters is Arjuna should truly believe that here is someone who can help me resolve my conflict, right? So to bring about that complete total surrender is the psychological reason why in chapter 2 Lord Krishna gives out the highest philosophy, Sankhya Yoga. Beneficiaries are you and me, Sudhir Bhokta, right? If we study it with a clean and deep intellect, we'll truly benefit in our lives. Yes, Prachi.
So just talking about why, we use the analogy of Arjuna as the calf and Krishna ji as the cow herd. So basically, what I thought is that, Arjuna didn't really comprehend entirely what, Lord Krishna had to say in the Gita, and it was more for the benefit of, the generations and the people that follow through the millennia that this knowledge was given out.
Hmm.
So suppose that this was a conversation privately between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, giving Arjuna knowledge which he wasn't really receptive to. Would that have been the way, like would you give out or approach this? Would he have approached it like this, or would he have just sort of try to manipulate him into fighting this war, knowing that he's not really going to comprehend the highest knowledge?
See, first of all, it's a poetic work, right? So here the author has used this section to give a sort of this divine knowledge to you and me. So Ved Vyas has used this section to dramatize and give out this, eternal knowledge to you and me. But if we have to analyze and study, that's precisely what we are saying, that the reason Lord Krishna has given sort of maybe has taken this approach is to psychologically draw Arjuna towards him, right? He understands that a lot of what he will say will go over his head. May go over his head. And a lot of times to pump people up, we say charged up things. We say high and mighty things, which may sound very idealistic, which may not even be relevant to them at that point, but it charges them up. So to be emotionally attuned to receive knowledge is very important, as opposed to being dejected, as opposed to being pessimistic, as opposed to being dismissive of everything. Arjuna was currently in a dismissive state. To shift him to a positive state of mind, to a state of mind which will be able to receive, the capacity to receive, right? That psychological shift, to bring about that psychological shift, because see, one thing is wait it out, but Lord Krishna didn't have time. It's the 11th hour of battle. He had to quickly transform Arjuna, right? So this is the method he employs, and it worked. It's good.
Also, like you'd said, this wasn't about just that Arjuna should fight the war and win, because he was already ready for battle before this. But I think Lord Krishna wanted to make it clear as to why the battle was being fought. Like it was a dharma yudh, and not just a battle to win kingdoms out of greed and revenge.
Absolutely.
So,
See, the point is that in a different scenario, had none of this worked, had this incredible knowledge not truly had an impact on Arjuna, maybe Lord Krishna would have ended up saying, "Listen, buddy, don't you remember what they did to Draupadi?" Luckily, Arjuna is satisfied with the Bhagavad Gita. If the Bhagavad Gita didn't work for that also, maybe Lord Krishna, he's being the objective person that he is, he would have descended to a much more grosser emotional approach. You might meet people who are not inspired by high and mighty words, who are not inspired by logical reason, who are not inspired by a subtler emotion. For them, you have to descend to, a more sort of grosser approach. So it depends on who you're dealing with. But yes, as far as Krishna is concerned, it would be very easy for him to descend to that. But he wants Arjuna to approach the war with the right reason, with the cause of dharma, and not of just revenge and retribution. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 2, verse 1. This chapter is called Sankhya Yoga. It has 72 verses. So we talked about the introduction to this chapter. Arjuna has fallen at the back of his chariot. He's decided not to fight. And here the narrator, Sanjaya, is describing that scene and telling us what happens ahead. Sanjaya uvacha tam tatha kripaya vishtam ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantamidam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Sanjaya uvacha tam tata kripaya ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantamidam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Very simple. Sanjaya said, describing Arjuna's state to him, referring to Arjuna, to him who was thus overcome with pity, whose eyes were filled with tears, who was agitated and despondent, Madhusudana spoke these words. So Arjuna was overcome with this weak emotion, with a sense of pity. Pity is a weakness. Pity is not a glorious emotion. Pity is an impulsive reaction you have to a partial thought, to a superficial thought. It's an emotional reaction which doesn't really have a deep impact, right? The only use of pity is perhaps to wake you up to an awareness, right? But to emotionally just react to pity, usually the reactions are irrational, right? Far more meaningful than pity is a deep emotion which leads you to act in a more consistent and comprehensive manner, right? So pity is not a virtue. True kindness, true unselfishness is far deeper and pervasive than pity. Pity is a momentary feeling of sympathy, right, and not truly the deep empathy that you and I ought to cultivate. So Arjuna was just temporarily overcome with pity. His eyes were filled with tears. He was agitated and despondent. And to such a person, Madhusudana, the slayer of Madhu, the slayer of demon, Lord Krishna, another name for Lord Krishna said these words to Arjuna. Now, the first words of Lord Krishna after 1.5 months. When did we start this class? After 1.5 months, Lord Krishna says his first words. And still, he's not going to come to the point. See, what has happened so far? Arjuna has been talking. Lord Krishna has been keeping quiet. At first, Arjuna assumes that this means that Lord Krishna agrees with me. Then it
So, just a minute. You have used the word pity. Pity is generally egoistic person always has a pity on the poor people.
It's an emotional reaction to
not a sympathy. It is a pity. Generally, we say give alms to the poor people. We pity them, and then give alms.
Even emotional, you can have a reaction to the emotional condition of another person. So yes, I mean we'll talk about pity.
I don't want to break your rhythm and all that. Sorry.
So I mean people are okay to, I mean it's open to, if you have any query about what pity is, feel free to ask. But yes, as you said, it's a superficial emotion, and generally to someone who possesses, who is privileged but is not conscious of that privilege, when he is exposed to a less privileged environment, when he is exposed to an environment which is not as peaceful and pleasurable, that emotional reaction, that instantaneous reaction is pity, right? So the only good that can come out of pity is that it can provoke someone to think, right? But unless and until that actual thinking happens, unless and until one actually understands the depth of the reality around him, that pity is, most people don't actually think, don't invest time in thinking deeply. They want an instantaneous reaction to that instantaneous feeling. It's like thode paise de do and all the problems will be solved. Problem ke upar, kapda phekna, chadar phekna, right? So that's pity.
If we are grateful, maybe we can have less pity on ourselves.
Sorry?
If we are more grateful, maybe pity comes lesser.
Yeah, if you see, what is gratitude? True gratitude comes out of awareness. Now, since you have आपने बात छेड़ी है, तो let's talk about it. Gratitude कहाँ से आती है? Anybody?
उदारता, ग्रेटिट्यूड में उदारता दिल से आती है, दिल से
आती है, but उसे मतलब what invokes gratitude in us?
मतलब कि
When you
we have got
realize
from-
that you've received enough.
Yes.
Out of
And
all
Ji, you have been attending class for a long time now, I can tell. Huh? I'm glad. So she's hit the nail on the head. When you realize that you have received, when you realize the enormous blessings that have been showered upon you, a reaction to that is a feeling of gratitude. True gratitude is a reaction to an awareness, right? So gratitude is born out of an awareness of how much you have received materially, physically, emotionally, intellectually, whatever, at every level, spiritually. And an acknowledgement of your receipt, an acknowledgement of all that you have been given, an acknowledgement of, so it comes out of a feeling of fullness. It comes out of a feeling of, and the funny thing is, most people who are grateful need not necessarily have the most amount of money or need not necessarily be in the best of circumstances, right? So it's a psychological state of gratitude. If you're looking at the glass half full, you're grateful. If you're looking at the glass half empty, you're miserable. So yes, when you're grateful, naturally it's coming out of awareness. When it's coming out of awareness, there's an acknowledgement of those that have, those that don't have. This world is dvandva. It's a mixture of opposites. Some people have more, some people have less. Some people are privileged, some people are less privileged. Some people are going through a happy situation, some people are going through an unhappy situation. Some people are in are going through a period of prosperity. Some people are going through a period of loss and suffering materially. This world is an admixture of opposites. When you have that awareness and when you have that understanding, right, naturally you will be more empathetic. Your empathy will speak through each and every action. So your pity will be less. Pity is, see, it's like you spend your entire day being selfish. You spend your entire day only thinking about me, my. But when a very gross situation is put in front of you, it provokes you into pity. See, charity begins at home. Charity begins at home. What is the meaning of that? That it begins with each and every action of your life, with each and every one around you. It's something that that you have to carry in and through every thought, word, and deed, and not just a momentary singular action you perform one time a week because you have to, the astrologer has told you, feed 100 laborers, it'll help your shani, control your shani. So once a week people have a sense of, why these things said? To invoke in you a sense of, please, you should feed them, but you should also carry that spirit of sympathy, empathy all through your all through the day, all through the week, in and through all your activities. So yes, when you have an attitude of gratitude, it means that there is an underlying awareness. It means that there is an underlying empathy. So naturally you'll have less pity, you'll have a much more balanced emotion, and you'll have a much more conscious awareness of the needs of one and all. Right? Your actions will naturally be unselfish rather than being intermittently, pitiful. Right? Okay. So we are at that point where Arjuna was talking, and at first he took Lord Krishna's silence to mean agreement. Whatever I am saying, perhaps Lord Krishna is agreeing with it. Now, in that silence, when Lord Krishna wasn't reacting, then he got confused. He's looking for some kind of justification. He's looking for some kind of validation from Lord Krishna. So at this point, he said so much, and he's waiting for Lord Krishna to say something, say something to validate my emotions, right? And Lord Krishna just does the exact opposite. He shocks Arjuna, right? He doesn't give any knowledge. He shocks Arjuna. It's like, poking someone, right? To stir them into thinking, to stir them into realizing that maybe all that they have been saying is not right, right? Lord Krishna's silence wasn't his approval. It stirs Arjuna into a state of confusion. Okay, maybe what I'm thinking is not right. And it has that impact. Within a couple of verses, Arjuna reacts appropriately. So Madhusudana spoke these words, and incredible words of Lord Krishna, verse number 2 and verse number 3. We'll take it together. Chapter 2, verse number 2 and 3. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Vishame samupasthitam anaryajushthamasvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva kashmalamidam Vishame samupasthitam anaryajushthamasvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. Klaibyam masmagamah partha Naitattvayupapadyate Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam Tyaktvotishtha parantapa. Klaibyam masmagamah partha Naitattvayupapadyate Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam Tyaktvotishtha parantapa. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam. How has this dejection come upon you in a crisis, O Arjuna? Unworthy of an Aryan, attaining neither heaven nor fame. What has happened to you, Arjuna? I'm shocked. Arjuna must have been surprised. I thought so far you were agreeing with me. How come this has come upon you? In a moment of crisis, when people expect you to stand up to the situation, you are dejected and you are collapsing. It's unworthy of an Aryan. Anarya Jushtam Asvargyam. Attaining neither heaven, Asvargyam, Akirti, nor fame, O Arjuna. Neither will you achieve heaven from this action, neither will you achieve fame. Klaibyam masmagama. These are really stinging words. Yield not to unmanliness. Klaibyam masmagama. Partha. For a warrior, a sense of grandeur and manliness, it matters to them. It may not matter to a jnani. See, if you tell a knowledgeable person, hey, be a man, sit down. You think that will have an impact on me? Be a man. But to a warrior, hey, you tell an army man, stop being unmanly, buck up. Yield not to unmanliness, O Partha. It does not befit you. You're a warrior. Casting off this mean weakness of heart, arise. Uttishta. Uttishta parantapa. Rise. I'm not going to let you just collapse like this. Get up. Buck up. So he doesn't cater to Arjuna's emotion. Does he, far from agreeing with him, he pokes him, right? And that's surprising because so far Lord Krishna has stayed quiet. So how has this dejection come upon you? How can you collapse? Unworthy of an Aryan. Anarya Jushta. Who is an Aryan? An Aryan is one who performs his duty. An Aryan, a Hindu, is one who is conscious of his role and responsibility and performs it to the best of his ability. He lives in the world in the spirit of a yogi, doing his karyam karma towards the goal of moksha. That's the meaning of an Aryan, nothing else. The Aryans, there are all sorts of theories. Aryans came from some other part of the world, they looked a certain way, dressed a certain way. All those theories are also being slowly, disproved. But more than a geographical or a racial understanding, it's important to understand essentially culturally, what is an Aryan. An Aryan is one who is aligned to this dharma, this pursuit of dharma, artha, kama towards moksha, performing his duty to the best of his abilities, conscious of what ought to be done, what is his role and responsibility. That's what an Aryan is. And if you don't do that, if you don't rise up to the occasion and stand up for what needs to be done, you're not an Aryan. Now, these are meant to stir Arjuna, right? It attains neither heaven nor fame. Neither will it give you a sense of pleasure. Neither will it give you a positive state of mind. What you're going to do, you think it will help you. No, 2 days later you will regret it. Nor will it bring you fame. Nor will it give you a sense of, nor will you leave a legacy. Neither will it lead to immediate happiness, nor will it lead to a future happiness. Heaven means an immediate sense of happiness. Fame means a future glory, right? So neither will it give you happiness in the present, nor will it give you happiness in the future. What you're going to do, you will regret, O Arjuna. I can tell you that very clearly. Asvargyam and akirti. Again, for a warrior, fame, legacy, name are very important, right? So a lot of psychology happening out here. You're not behaving like an Aryan. Klaibyam masmagama. See, this is almost a controversial word. Klaibyam, in some places it is, in other commentaries you'll read, Klaibyam is interpreted, translated as neuter gender, right? It's almost attacking, sort of transgender, as it were. But that's not the case, and that need not be the interpretation to take, right? What he's saying is, you are being indecisive, Arjuna. See, if you observe Arjuna's words in the previous chapter, on the one hand he's calling these people desperados. These people, they are here to just please Duryodhan. On the other hand, he's saying these are such glorious people. They have given up their greed. Make up your mind. What do you actually think of them? Be clear. See, either you think that they are glorious and you should not fight. Be clear about that. But don't keep hopping. On the one hand, he's trying to raise them up. On the other hand, he's trying to take a grand stand. Oh, I don't want any of this. I need to be great. I need to set an example. Be clear. Don't have a foot in both boats, right? Be straightforward and clear about who you are. Don't be indecisive. That's the meaning of klaibyam. Indecisive, one who is unable to stand up clearly for what they think, right? So don't yield to this unmanness. It does not befit you. A warrior is one who is clear about what needs to be done, right? So enough of all of this. Cast off all of this dejection, weakness, and uttishta, rise up. Okay, if Arjuna had risen up right now with this simple provocation, we wouldn't have received the Bhagavad Gita. And honestly, if you ask me, knowing Lord Krishna, he would have wanted that Arjuna just rise up with this. He wouldn't have to waste his time talking for the next half an hour. See, a teacher knows that they want to preserve their energy. They don't want to unnecessarily speak. Speak a little. If that resolves the situation, the student will get up and leave. Class over. No teacher wants class to go on till, overtime. A true teacher wants to be terse and straightforward. He knew Arjuna is not a Brahmagyani. He's not one who needs Brahmagyan. First thing is shortcut, straightforward. What Arjuna needs is just an emotional push to his emotional fall. So he first tries to give this emotional provocation. It doesn't work. That's when Lord Krishna gives out the Bhagavad Gita. He says, "Thoda aur kaam lagega." We have to put some more effort into this. So the first is a emotional provocation to see if Arjuna stands up. Arise, uttishta parantapa. Very famous word in the Bhagavad Gita. Uttishta, arise, stand up. You must lift yourself up. You must lift yourself up from your dejection. You must lift yourself up from your state of despondency. Despondency is not a solution to life. Dejection is not a solution to life. We are sympathetic to your depression. We are sympathetic to your state of mind. We are sympathetic to your mental struggles, no doubt. But you alone can lift yourself by yourself. And you have the capacity to. You have the ability to. I can be your friend, I can be your support, I can be your guide. But don't expect me to mollycoddle you. You must lift yourself by yourself. Cast off this weakness of heart. It doesn't befit you. Right? So there is this pure sympathy in the case of Lord Krishna towards Arjuna. And as a result, Arjuna begins to have a doubt. So far he's been clear, I don't want to fight. For the first time he'll say, I don't know what to do. It's a big shift. It's a big shift. See, a tamasic intellect versus a rajasic intellect. It's worth pausing for a minute and trying to understand what is about to happen. We've talked briefly about the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Now there's a concept, very beautiful concept. Tamas mimics sattva. Means from the outside, on a superficial level, a tamasic person will appear sattvic. Why? A sattvic person is clear. He knows what he needs to do. A tamasic person is also clear. They know exactly what they need to do. Except their understanding is ulta. They have a diluted understanding. What they think they need to do is actually the exact opposite. Right? So a tamasic intellect is clear about what he needs to do, he or she needs to do. But actually, what they should be doing is the exact opposite. It's precisely what the state of mind Arjuna is in. He's clear, I don't need to fight. Arjuna, Lord Krishna, these reasons, I don't need to fight. The intellect is completely held hostage and making all sorts of absurd arguments. Tamasic intellect interprets righteousness as unrighteousness, unrighteousness as righteousness, and is convinced about it. A rajasic intellect is one that is confused about what is right and what is wrong, confused about what should be done, what should not be done, confused about righteousness, unrighteousness. A tamasic person is not capable of receiving any knowledge. A tamasic person cannot be spoken to, you cannot convey anything to them. In the case of a rajasic person, there is a chance to communicate, there is a chance to convey. In the next 2 or 3 verses, we'll see the shift of Arjuna from a tamasic state of mind, from a tamasic intellect to a rajasic state, where they still don't want to fight, they're still arguing against it, but there is a slight glimmer of confusion. I don't know what to do. If only you and I accept, I don't know. It's a big step. It's a big step towards gaining knowledge. So in order to become sattvic, we have to go from tamas to rajas. And from rajas, we rise to sattva. If we are in a tamasic state, we can't pull ourselves up, right? We can't come out of our state of complete ignorance. So this shift is very important, especially to people who who are guardians, who are friends, who others confide in, it's very important to analyze, are they in a tamasic state of mind or a rajasic state of mind, and how to draw them to a rajasic state of mind. Because when there is a shift to rajas, then there is a capacity to convey, communicate, right? In an ideal world, everyone will be sattvic. In an ideal world, the other person is capable of understanding exactly what you say, but that's ideal. It's not going to happen, right? But so long as the other person is rajasic, there is a chance to manage and convey knowledge. So what does Arjuna say? Verse number 4. We'll quickly chant it before concluding class. Arjuna uvacha katham bhishmamaham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubhih pratiyotsyami pujaharvarisudana. Arjuna uvacha katham bhishmamaham sankhye dronam cha madhusudana ishubhih pratiyotsyami pujarharvarisudana. How shall I, O Madhusudana, fight with arrows against Bhishma and Drona in battle, they who are worthy of worship, O Arisudana? So Arjuna, instantaneously reacting to what Lord Krishna has to say, is saying, how can you say this? How can you tell me to fight? The fact that he's reacted this way means he's open to consider. He's not saying, no, I will not fight. How shall I? You tell me. What do you mean? How shall I, O Madhusudana, fight with arrows? Dhanurdhari Arjun, how can I fight with arrows, with my arrows, for which I am known as a warrior? But against Bhishma and Drona in battle, they are worthy of worship. They should be respected. So Arjuna is beginning to express the confusion. He's beginning to show an openness to listen to more to what Lord Krishna has to say. So far he was convinced of what he was choosing to do, and now there is an alley through which Lord Krishna can convey, bring some sense to Arjuna. So what we'll see in the next couple of verses in the coming class is Arjuna's complete surrender. So the next 3 verses, Arjuna will surrender to Lord Krishna and seek his guidance. Please help me. I know I am confused. I know what I've been talking, I've been blabbering. I just need some clarity now. Convey that clarity to me. Help me out of the situation, oh Krishna. And that surrender is very important. Only after that does the Lord begin to speak. So the next class we'll start with this, and we'll go on to see what Lord Krishna has to say. With that thought, we'll conclude today. And I'm happy to take up any last minute questions if anyone has. If anyone would like to ask something.
In the book, it's written, human beings as a race suffer from mental agitation. Why human beings as a race?
Where is this?
In this fourth thing only, the fourth shloka only, in the meaning. In the second paragraph. He makes no reference to his inner weakness even as a contributory factor that demonstrates a typical human weakness. Human beings as a race suffer from mental agitations.
Though Arjuna's reasoning points to the external situation, his problem really arises from an internal condition. Overwhelmed with emotion, he is mentally depressed and dejected. Yet he attributes his problem to external factors. In this particular verse, he argues that he cannot fight because of the nobility of his adversaries. He's still not acknowledging that the problem is his own emotion. He's saying the problem is actually because they are noble. They should be worshipped, right? He makes no reference to his inner weakness. So he's still not acknowledging that the actual problem is his own inner ability to manage his emotion. So this demonstration is typical. This demonstrates a typical human weakness. Humans as a race suffer from mental agitation. Some less, some more, but every person attributes his suffering to outside forces, environmental forces, external situations. Okay, so what's the question?
So why did Swamiji say that human beings as a race suffer from mental agitations?
Human beings as a race suffer from mental agitation because they are not
Humans
able
only
to
have the capacity to think and work from their brain.
Humans as a race suffer from mental
If
agitation
they have ability to think, then why should they suffer from agitation?
because they don't develop the capacity to
Yeah.
think. They've been given a tool, but they don't use it. You'll buy a Dyson to clean your house, but you don't use it. Your house will be dirty. Huh? I know someone who bought a Dyson, but it's still wrapped up. What is the point of that Dyson? You don't use it. So the intellect, see, the intellect is nature's gift to you. It's like, nature said, you've grown up. I'm taking care of plants and animals, but humans, I'm going to give you a little bit of independence. Right? You have the freedom to move around, you have the freedom to create whatever world you want, and you manage it. So nature has actually been very benevolent to humans. It's a lot of independence. But with that independence comes responsibility, a need to manage. The fact is that we've been given a wondrous mind which is capable of such tremendous emotions. We've also been given a buddhi to manage it, but we don't manage it. We allow thoughts that should not be allowed to sprout. We water negative emotions in the garden of our mind. See, our mind is a garden. This is my favorite analogy, and those who have attended my class over the years know I keep referring to this analogy. If I have to pick my favorite analogy, this is it. Okay, your mind is a garden. All your thoughts are seeds in the ground. Now, depending on the season, depending on the environment, depending on the situation, different thoughts sprout. But as a gardener, it's up to you to decide what sprouts to allow to grow and what to weed out. See, the fact that the thought has arisen is not the problem. The fact that every human being has negative thoughts. Dare I say, even a Swami has negative thoughts. But the difference between you and a Swami is that a Swami plucks out the negative thought and dismisses it. Get thee away from me, Satan. That negative thought is Satan. But you and me, we have a negative thought about a person, and initially it's entertaining. We gossip about it. Hey, it's fun to talk about another person, maybe even criticize them a little bit. Then it becomes a habit. So we all have negative emotions. We all entertain greed, anger, jealousy. We try to cloak it with, virtues and values. But we allow these thoughts to sprout. And these thoughts end up becoming the very cause of our agitations. All your agitation are because of your unmanaged thoughts, unmanaged desires, nothing else. So as a race, we suffer because 1 in a million actually develop and use this buddhi appropriately. So it's like, we are not utilizing this opportunity given to us by nature appropriately. We're just struggling. So human evolution lies in further developing this intellect and managing oneself, because nature has given us the responsibility and control. No other creature, an animal, has a predetermined course of action. See, nature, it regulates animals' emotions. They are built that way. In different seasons, they'll have different emotions. And it is not given the complexity of emotion for them to brood and breed over, unnecessary thoughts. It's just the way nature has controlled their physiology and psychology. But to humans, it said, it's in your court. The ball is in your court. You choose. And the fact
unnecessarily entertain the thoughts.
And it's up to us to what we should entertain, what we should not entertain. So the thought are like small saplings in your garden. Now what you need to weed out as a gardener, that's the role you have. If you allow weeds to grow, your garden will be unkept. It'll be inundated with unnecessary plants. And when you have unnecessary plants, when you have, those who are familiar with gardening will know, when you have unnecessary weeds, it actually impedes the growth of what you need, right? So very important part of gardening is not only planting what you need to plant, but also weeding out what you don't need, right? So it's all a game of the realm of thoughts. Because we don't garden properly, we suffer from mental agitation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with that thought, we'll conclude today, and we'll see you again on Thursday. We'll continue. Thank you so much.
So, Hari Om.